Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 1615 Harvard Avenue here in Gladstone. We're up on the rooftop going through the 4-inch cast iron vent. I'm going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Currently have water running. We're going to zero the camera counter out right here at the base of the vent. As long as we can get this thing to turn the way we want it to here. To flip around and go backwards on us. Alright, we got it facing the right way here. Off we go. We're going to keep the camera moving fairly quickly here. We've got a pretty long run to the street and some twists and turns to get through. We will bring the camera back in a bit slower though. Alright, we just exited the foundation here a couple feet ago and we're transitioning here over to 4-inch concrete pipe. I'll have to measure the joint distance here, but I think we have transite concrete rather than standard aggregate. We should have joints about every 10 feet here, if that is the case. So transite concrete, yeah, we do. It is definitely transite. Transite has joints every 10 feet rather than standard concrete, which is about every 2 to 3 feet. So you have far less weak points for roots to get in. Doesn't mean that they can't get in, but it tends to hold roots up much better. The other advantage to it is you can see how smooth the interior of the pipe here is. Concrete pipe at this age would be starting to show aggregate rock through and getting really rough in the flow line. So the difference between the two is one has aggregate rock in the mix, and transite concrete has asbestos fibers in it. Now it tends to hold up quite a lot longer than regular concrete. Alrighty, here at 120 feet, we have reached the main lateral connection. I believe, we'll get, when it drains out, we'll have a better look at it. I think it transitioned to aggregate concrete somewhere near the street edge. We'll have a look at that on the way out when the line's drained. But I'm going to go locate, see where the camera head, or at least the line terminates at. And then we'll let the pipe drain out completely before rolling back in. So far as functionality goes, the water might be hiding something from our eyes currently. But as far as functionality goes, the line is draining and flowing very, very nicely. Alright, located the camera head successfully out the main lateral on Harvard Avenue. The line comes out about right in the middle of the front of the house and then kind of veers over and does end up going out underneath the driveway to a certain extent before heading out to the street. Alright, we are down to just a slight trickle at this point. We're going to go ahead and start reeling back in here. Now, it looks like they ran transite concrete all the way out to the main. That is probably the only reason why this line, I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if you found some roots on the way back now that the line's drained out, but the only reason this line is not absolutely blown to pieces from roots is because it is transite concrete. Now, I'm seeing little spots here and there where it looks like there's little like clumps of dirt on the side of the pipe. I'm looking at a couple right now. They're very hard to see. As I go past them, though, I'm not seeing obvious breaches in the line. Like right here at this joint, we have the slightest amount of dirt that's coming through the pipe, and what causes that are earthworms that are tunneling in and out of the pipe joint. So to a certain extent, the joint is somewhat compromised, although earthworms can squeeze through a spot, I mean, that is like a 32nd of an inch wide. It's not something that's just letting all your water escape the line there or anything like that. It's, in my opinion, it is not a good reason to do a repair on these lines. That, especially if you don't have roots coming through, those joints are still quite tight. The amount of trees and the size of the trees that are in this yard, if we had a joint that was compromised in a significant way, you would have roots everywhere inside this line. If this were standard concrete, you'd probably have a root intrusion in almost every pipe joint. So that tells you that the joint is still very, very tight and sealed off. Earthworms can tunnel in and out of very tight, tiny little spaces, but that is what causes that little bit of dirt to come into the pipe there. Now, this pipe will not last forever. At some point, it will wear out. The beautiful part about this one here is just how well it drains. This is a line that you could do an epoxy liner on and not have to dig a single hole. It would be a very good candidate for that at some point in the future. And I would recommend keeping that in mind. If you're going to be in this house for, you know, the next 20 years or so, I would consider doing that, you know, in time. I would rescope whenever you have an older line like this. It's worth rescoping it every now and then, every 5 years, maybe every 8 years, especially if we don't see any issues going on here. Now, this right here is a little bit of cast iron scale that's kind of busted loose. Not a lot of it though. But it's worth doing a liner on these things. When you have a line that functions this nicely, it's worth updating it before anything bad happens to it. If you do get a pipe wall that collapses or something like that, you lose the ability to do that pipe liner. You'd end up having to dig or drill. But I don't want you hung up on that though. It's just that's looking into the future. Alright, well, all the transite concrete there is looking good. All the joints were tight. We have no root intrusions. A couple joints where we had, I mean, teeny tiny little bits of dirt coming through from earthworms. But other than that, very nicely functioning though. Now we're coming back to the crawl space at this point. We're going to go ahead and reel the camera on out of the line. We have great flow all the way to the main lateral, and for being 120 feet, most lines that go over 100 feet long, almost 100% of them will have big giant bellies in them. So the fact that this line looks this, I mean, it's perfect as far as flow goes. It was a very, very well installed sewer line. It's amazing to see a line that length with no standing water in it whatsoever. And a pipe this old to not have any significant issues going on with it at all. So for its age, it is absolutely fantastic looking. But I would recommend doing rescopes every now and then. With the size of the trees in this yard and it being concrete pipe, although it's transite, which makes it much stronger than regular concrete, they are still susceptible to roots coming through those joints. So I would rescope it every now and then, maybe every 5 years or so, to keep an eye on it. And then I would plan for a sewer line update, and I would highly recommend looking into the epoxy liner for that. But I mean, at least probably another 10 years or more down the road. Anyway, at this time, we have great flow to the main. Line is functioning properly at this time.